Hey, welcome back to Magic is Fun. My name's Kyle.
My name's Mark.
And today we're going to talk about the fix we want to propose to Wizards fixing, quotation marks, of Standard. Everybody knows they've extended it out to 3 years. Let us know in the comment section. Are you excited about this change? Do you think that that's good? Is that bad? And then also, we're really curious to know, do you think our specific fix that we're going to talk about here in just a second is something that could actually work? But before we detail out what our actual plan is, Mark, just really quickly, like 20 seconds, break down what has happened.
Yeah, so remember all those cards you don't like, and how every year you go, oh, thank Christ, they're going to leave this time, but no, they stay. So all your cards from Kamigawa, like Fable the Mirror Breaker, Wandering Emperor, Invoke Despair, those would normally rotate out of Standard in the fall, like September usually. That isn't happening. Now Wizard says, we're canceling rotation this year, and from now on, a set is going to last for Standard 3 years. That's going to be everything going forward. Why did they do this, right? Maybe they want more paper, maybe they want more money. Obviously, that's how Wizards do, but that's what's happening. And I don't know what your impression is. People seem to be pretty negative to skeptical is like the range of emotions I've seen people in terms of how they're responding to that.
Yeah, the most I've really seen is indifference is probably the best, if that even can be considered good, but not mad is probably, I would say, with most of the people on the spectrum.
Wizards of the Coast PR department just high-fiving each other when they see the not mad
they're
tweet.
not furious.
They're probably like, that person's not happy enough. Send the Pinkertons.
The thing that's the problem, right, is you've got the dual tracks for this new system, because Wizards is saying we're doing this. We'll speculate why they're doing it here in just a little bit, but you've got on the one hand, okay, well, we're not going to ban these groaners, and they're going to stay in for 3 years, and nobody wants that. And then on the other hand, you have, okay, well, we'll just do bannings whenever things get stale, and that also sucks. Like, nobody wants to have random banning. On Arena, it sucks. It sucks, especially in paper. And, like, this is a guy who bought a playset of Fable of the Mirror Breaker back when they were $5.
God, but you're just never going to stop bragging about that.
I'm never going to stop bragging about it. But that's the thing. Nobody wants that. So our specific plan to avoid that is, it's really simple. Every 2 years, right? So when you're getting ready to go to that 3rd year mark, right around right now, let's say there was a set that was, your Kamigawas, your Innistrades, your New Capennas, right? That block of sets that's going to rotate out theoretically in the fall without the 3-year extension. Right around this time, Wizards of the Coast comes out and says, hey, we're looking at some of these cards, a list of, let's say, 25 cards that they're looking at banning. They announce that to everybody. And then at that 2-year mark, so that 2 to 3 year mark, they go through, and that's when you can expect a amount of bans for those older cards. So that's when you get your Invoke Despairs, your Wandering Emperors, your Fable and the Mirror Breakers, and all the other cards get to move on. Because it's not like Tovolar is the problem. It's not like the weird rare vampires are the problem. It's these cards where they're just staples and we don't want to play against them anymore.
Yeah, it kind of is trying to have our cake and eating it too, right? So it's saying, hey, those cards that you invested in, that you played paper in, that you love, you get to play those cards for 2 years, just like you always did. But that extra 3rd year, that extended year, we're going to go ahead and do the bans then. So you can always count on having a Shieldred of the Apocalypse, right? These powerful cards for at least 2 years like you did before. But the eating it our 2 part is we ban it at that September 2-year cutoff and say, okay, we're not going to have this for 3 years. And I don't know if that's going to be executable, right? It kind of really relies on Wizards being proactive and thoughtful in design. And unfortunately, we've seen that that's not always the case for the past few years. Is the bacon ready?
Yeah,
the
temperature's a little bit low. I'll put a picture up on screen.
Very exciting. I think this could work. I think it's better than the alternative, right? Because everyone's kind of freaking out a little bit, those people that are negative about this, thinking, oh my God, I thought I was almost done with Invoke Despair. Now I'm going to have to play it for a whole nother year? That's a feels bad situation.
No.
On both sides, right? Because I'm kind of sick of playing these cards too. I want freshness, and there's like a level of...
I don't want to feel like I have to play them.
Yeah, they're auto includes that we just want out. We don't want to feel like, oh, if I'm playing white and I don't include the Wandering Emperor, I'm kind of playing with one hand tied behind my back, which is what so many cards feel like. Not just like now, but always in standard, right? At the end of rotation, when you're getting up to that point, the meta has solidified, and this is why the kind of timing of this is,
I would say.
yeah, it's so weird because if you look at the last World Tour Pro Tour that just
Pro
happened,
Tour.
we just did that so many times. We tried to record this video last night. All the decks were the exact same offenders you will come to expect, right? It's Rakdos, it's Grixis, it's a Fable and Shieldred pile, right, with a little Invoke Despair on top for greed. Like, that's what we're playing, and it's hard to imagine if they don't actually do the plan that we're talking about, that's not going to be the meta for the next year, right? We're just kind of in for that. So,
And that
we don't want
sucks.
random bans. We want predictability, but we do not want a stale meta.
Yeah, the problem with this plan is, yeah, it's great because you get a larger card pool. All the fun cards get to continue. That's great.
Yeah.
The problem is Wizards of the Coast is in charge of this, and this plan relies on transparency and communication, and I just have no faith that Wizard is going to be
The Pinkertons are here. Come take your shit.
that Wizards is going to be able to execute what should be a relatively simple proposition, right? All
Yeah,
you got to
it's,
do is take the top 3% of cards. They have so much data. They've got all the data from all these tournaments. More Magic is being played now than ever before. They have access to all the arena backend stuff. They know what cards are being played too much. They know what cards aren't being played. This is the opportunity to be able to say, okay, and give people the chance. It's just,
I think there's a
no way.
precedence for this, right? So, like, a lot of bands like Oko
yeah, it's called
or
Alchemy,
Allrunes,
and they screwed that up.
that's for real. But, like, those uber tier Omnath bands, those are like, oops, we did a mistake. Got to pull that out. But like, if you
Oopsie.
look at Meat Hook Massacre, in the write up when they banned
I
that card,
don't want to.
when they banned that card, but even then, right? Like, yes, Meat Hook was an incredibly powerful card,
But it was
I
never.
will say,
It was never Oko. It was never.
it was never Oko. And I will
it was
say,
never-
like, when we took it out of the format, like, every time I go against Mono Black, I'm just like, well, I'm just going to throw my hand up on the board because, like, they can't do anything about it unless they have a surprise invasion of Fiora, which no one seems to be playing. So, like, there's a lack of a sweeper, and so aggro goes nuts. But whatever, like, that's the meta. They specifically, in that text with Meat Hook, said, we want to shake things up, right? And we look at Meat Hook as the way to do that. That's kind of the expectation, but instead of it being random, you wait till that 2-year mark and then you pull the plug and make it happen. I think that's gonna be better than just sort of letting things calcify, because, like, I'm staring down the barrel of the rest of this summer thinking, oh god, we just had Aftermath and that really didn't do much to standard. So it's just like, is this
Yeah, we're gonna have to
standard
play some
for
weird decks.
3 months? It's gonna be bad. You know, like that problem is not going away, and I don't want a situation where Wizards has said they want to return to paper Magic. They want to, like, reinvigorate standard in paper, but, like, I don't think this change is going to have it. Right? We are the target audience, you and I, and probably the people watching this video. Do you play paper standard? I don't. I used to. I don't now. Why? Is it because
the only
2
thing I
years or
used to
3
play.
years? Why did you stop?
Yeah, because it got too expensive, and I mean, partly because I move a lot, but yeah, it's, Wizards has done so much to invest people away from standard. They kind of, they sort of like middle child it. Oh, it's going to take care of itself. Don't worry about it. When I started playing Magic, 10, 15 years ago, that was what people played. Is F&M was standard. That's what we did. And, maybe some people had some modern decks, the old hats with like a legacy and vintage deck. And then, you just dig around with like Commander every once in a while. But you played standard. That is what we did. And Wizards has done, or limited. Wizards has done everything in their power to support everything else. They're printing nonsense cards into standard formats. They're obviously not balancing the standard format like they need to be. And this is what happens: is nobody wants to play paper standard anymore.
Well,
And
I think
they're
big
looking
problem
at,
is not,
it's too expensive. Let's do that. Let's
more people are playing paper. More people are playing standard now than
not
ever
paper.
before, right? Because I think it's a question of what's the alternative, right? I'm getting all my standard matches in on Arena, and that's what I do now, right? So, like, the idea of dropping $400 on a deck, when someone's like, "Hey, good news, you can play this deck now." Theoretically, maximum, if all the cards are from the first set in rotation, you can play it for 3 years instead of 2, a 33% increase. Is that going to get me to drop $500 on a standard deck for a 33% increase in time? Nope, sure not, because I'll just play it on standard, right? Like, I'll play it on Arena. There's no way. the Freudian slip there, right? I called Arena Standard, and I don't think many people think differently of it, right? Like that's the standard client. And I think if Wizards is being honest, so if like we read through the bullshit and think like, okay, well this is just about improving Arena, which is the standard client, will this improve Arena Magic, like non-paper Magic, the digital format?
It could. It definitely could, because as a guy who has to brew a lot of decks really often, I think having a larger card pool is really cool.
Yeah.
And some of these rares and mythics that maybe don't have the bench, maybe with an extra year can get the cards around them they need to be the cool build around that I always wanted them to be. But I don't think Wizards is gonna that. But that only happens with deliberate care. That's only possible if you do ban the Wandering Emperors and the Fables at the appropriate time. And I just don't think that they're gonna do it.
I almost wish we could call it something
I think they're gonna be
different.
reactionary.
Yeah, I almost wish we could call it something different. Like if we think about it conceptually, the 2-year mark where we're talking about, putting 20 bans on the calendar. I know Wizards is probably like really sensitive, because another reason why I think Standard has gone downhill, if you haven't been around for a few years, Wizards traditionally, the bans we're seeing in the last 2 years, that's more normal. Like every now and then you get an All Runes or a Meat Hook, right? Once a year kind of thing. It's not like Eldraine and Ikoria where they banned like card after card after card because they just, kind of busted Standard. I think they're afraid to say, okay, it's the 2-year rotation. They've adopted our plan. The check is in the mail. You're welcome. And they're going to ban 20 cards, right? I think they're scared to put 20 cards on the ban list even if people are expecting it. So I almost wish we could conceptually think of it as like 95% of cards are being extended for a third year rather than just banning the 5% that are the problem. But that conceptually, I think, would be great, because there's nothing sadder than like a rare that never got its time. Like it was such a cool card, but it never got to pop.
It had the power level. It was, it just never had the support. It just literally didn't have the cards around it. So yeah, I think that could happen. I think that there's a way forward, and I guess the good news is that like it's not like Standard was working, so maybe trying something is positive. I think that there's a chance here. I'm not super faithful that, or I'm not super hopeful that Wizards is going to be able to execute. But I don't think it's going to make it worse. I don't.
Yeah, I think if Paper Magic is the dinosaur, like it's completely extinct at local game stores, you got to do something. And this is the most major shakeup to Standard in decades, right? Like you could argue ever. Since the invention of Standard, going to 3 years.
Yeah,
that's
when they got rid of blocks, that was a pretty big deal.
Even then,
too.
like what's a block? Like from a design perspective, it changes things, but like how we actually engage with the game, like basically the rules, planeswalkers, battles, whatever, like this is more important than any of that, because it's really fundamentally going to change the way we engage with Standard. So I'm, optimistic. What else can you be? We'll see. I think they really need to come out soon and give people some reassurance, because now that Aftermath has come and gone, really, without making a big splash, the same thing is going to happen as happened
Would you say
last
we're in
summer.
The aftermath?
We're in the dog days of summer.
Thank you.
Yeah. The meta is going to, what'd you say? It's not solidify, it calcifies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to be really groaning like about a month from now, really longing for that rotation now that won't come. And people are going to sort of pine and almost probably like idealize rotation now. People kind of like dreaded it before, but now they might like, if only the rotation was going to happen. We loved it all along. Yeah. But I sure was, because I'm happy to chuck cards, and that's why I love Standard, right? I want a rotation. I want a curated format. I don't want to sit at a commander table and go, what is that? What are you doing? What is happening? I've never
seen this before. It's in Japanese and it's upside down, and I don't care.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a Pikachu. Whatever, man. Do whatever you want. That is how Commander feels, and that's how it should feel, right? It's supposed to be fun. I guess you can get sweaty on Commander, but I think you're being stupid and playing Magic wrong. Come at me. Standard is where we sweat, and I don't know if this solution will make it better, but we'll stay optimistic. It was fun. I like talking to you about this stuff. I want to make another video about this. I want to extol the virtues of Aftermath. I think it was a good set, and everyone hates on it, and I don't know why. It makes me real sad. Maybe we'll do that someday.
Wizard sold
That's
you,
my
Wizard,
for real take.
Wizard sold you DLC. Let us know in the comments, not about Aftermath, but about our potential fix for Standard. Let us know in the comment section what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We love doing these talking head videos. But if you want to see more Standard content, check back on Thursday. We're going to have our next video up for gameplay. Thank you guys so much. We hope that this plan works out and is fun for everybody. But in the
We
meantime,
need a name.
yeah, the Standard fix.
The Standard fix.
That's what's on the title of this video. So
TM.
yeah.
You
All right. Have fun playing Magic.